Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's the Full 40 with Chris and Rob, part of the Stay Tuned Network, brought to you by Nova Insider. We're back. We're recording a day after we just recorded. This is like overtime city for the podcast, but we're here with a preview of the Big Five, full Big Five week to come. We got LaSalle, UPenn, and St. Joe's on tap for the following week after Thanksgiving. But more importantly, we are in the second part of this podcast is an interview with none other than Allan Ray, one of the best all-time players of the program. Jersey in the rafters type.
In the rafters.
Guy. Not type guy, like literally in jersey in the rafters, like legit.
Guy. No, like
2,000 plus point scorer, Elite 8, Sweet 16. All Big East, consensus All-American, played multiple years in Europe, won championships there, played with the Boston Celtics for a year. Like, this guy is just absolutely, his resume is out of control good. And we have A-Ray on for a nice long interview after the break here. Rob, what are you drinking?
Tonight I am drinking none other than my former employer, Pepsi. I hate this company, but that's okay. Just didn't get around to the whiskey tonight. So alas, here we are.
So in honor of A-Ray, and this is a little bit of a stretch here, but I'm playing it. He played multiple years in Italy, and it's the holiday season. And so I'm having a little bit of Di Serono.
Is it on the rocks?
I had Di Serono on the rocks.
All right.
I finished it already. I finished it already. You can see me drinking it on the second half of the podcast because we interviewed A-Ray first, and with podcast magic, this is coming to your ears before the Allan Ray interview.
Yeah, and to be clear for our listeners, we're going to give our upcoming opponents the amount of attention that they actually deserve and warrant this year, which is about none.
That's correct.
Bulk of this pod is going to be A-Ray.
We're going to move quickly through this interview here. But yes, to answer your question, I drank quite a bit of Di Serono on the rocks, which is a throwback to a really old, terrible commercial that used to be out there.
It's so funny. It's a great commercial. I also want to point out to our listeners, I expect a big thank you note. You know, as Chris mentioned, we are doing overtime work here. This is 2 nights in a row. I flew home yesterday to visit my dad. I am yet again in my childhood bedroom. I think my dad is like, did you actually come here to visit me? Or did you just like come here to get a new location for your podcast? Because I was literally like, we got to leave dinner early. I got to go back and do this interview. I've spent the last few hours up here. So listeners, as always, we're doing God's work for you from God's lips to your ears. Here it is, the full 40. Is that our new tagline?
God's work. God's work. The truth of the matter is that Nicole was done with you recording in the apartment for a while.
Yes, please.
And you didn't want to do the recording in front of that little flimsy screen that you use to silence it out. So in your 2-bedroom Brooklyn apartment. So that's the reality of the situation. So here you are recording with a bunk bed in the background.
Hey.
And we're moving forward here. So let's get into the preview.
Let's do it.
The preview of the week that comes. And just to give you guys the sense of preparation that we provide here on the Full 40, we looked at KenPom and ESPN.com and Sports Reference to give you this information because we haven't watched a single fucking game of LaSalle, UPenn, of St. Joe's because they fucking suck. And we should blow the fuck out of these teams. No questions asked. We debated even not doing a preview, but we didn't think it was that was nice. We didn't think that was the right thing to do. These are Big Five opponents. We should do a preview. So here we are giving you a preview. You're welcome.
Yes.
Nova Nation and the Big Five.
In all seriousness, this preview is light because these guys are more or less cupcakes. I will say though, I've been pretty anti Big Five in the past of late. This year, I think my mindset shifts a little bit with how hard our out of conference schedule has been because we've gone from test to test to test. It's okay that we've got some lighter work coming up, especially coming off of this week we have. So from a fan's perspective, you can shift your mindset this year. It's okay to play some of these crappy Big Five teams, and it's okay that they're not great this year.
Pretty much. These are like, we play Mount St. Mary's, Howard, LaSalle, St. Joe's, UPenn.
Yeah.
That's like, they're all the same in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. So this is quote unquote the easy Big Five schedule, because the easy schedule, because historically St. Joe's and Temple are the better programs. So not having to play them away is better. So we have St. Joe's and Temple at home this year, and we have LaSalle and UPenn on their campuses this year, which is technically the easy version of the schedule. So just to break it down, we have LaSalle on Sunday evening. So right in the middle of football watching, you got to watch this Villanova LaSalle game. LaSalle is Ken Palm 217. They're 2-2 on the year. Not having a great year at all. Ashley Howard, Jay Wright disciple, the coaching tree is spreading. This is where he's getting his start. He has brought in, some recruits, some transfers, etc. He's trying to get the program going. Unfortunately for him, Dana O'Neill actually just put an article out, I believe, recently. LaSalle is like investigating, like going belly up in D1 sports overall, because they're almost like financially insolvent. So like there is, it's on the, like, go check that out. It's like a lot going on there.
Yeah, we tried to do a hot or not for our last preview, I think, for teams. This is a decidedly not hot.
Not at all hot.
No, very cold, very cold.
Yes. But they do have some players to think about here. The points leader for the team is Josh Nickelberry. So a little Nickelberry guy going on there. Really
stretching.
That's great. And then they have an all-name team, Jameer Brickus. Brickus is a great name. Doesn't bode well for basketball success.
I was going to say all name team for like not playing basketball. That's rough.
It's a terrific name. So that's all we got on LaSalle. We should win. 20 plus points.
Big.
Yeah. Huge. All right. Then we have UPenn. So this is the game.
Really just mailing it in this one.
Oh, yeah. This is just quick and dirty here.
I like it. Keep moving. Keep rolling.
Then we play UPenn, who's Ken Palm 197. They've already played 7 games. They're 3-4.
I don't know how.
That's 7 more games than they have played in like 20 months.
Oh yeah, because did they not play it all last year?
They didn't play it all last year because the Ivy League was like, COVID is bad, and therefore we will not play. It's irresponsible to play in a pandemic. And so they didn't play. And so here we are. But Ken Palm 197 means that they're not horrible, but they're still pretty bad. Things to think about with them. They actually lost in double overtime to Utah State in their Turkey tournament. And Utah State went on to beat Oklahoma. So
sure.
I don't know what you can draw from there, but maybe the most capable of the teams that we're playing this week.
So you're saying they're better than Oklahoma.
And the last Big Five game that we lost was against UPenn. So
we're really stretching here.
Infamous, this is why it was my second choice, Javon Quinterly game.
Oh, shit. Damn.
Yes.
Wow. That was an epic Instagram post.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
it was my second choice for a reason. That was the exact quote.
Talk about putting you in the doghouse.
Woo! The last Big Five game that we played. That's it.
Goodness.
That we lost.
Okay.
But
yeah, we should win this one too.
Yeah, we'll win this one too. I'm going to go with a 15-20 point game. I think UPenn will keep it a little bit close. We're on their campus. It's at the Palestra. Exciting. Woo, whatever. I think we're going to win though going away. So.
Perfect.
But they have an all-name team and a points leader wrapped up in the same guy, Jordan Dingle. So,
who would you rather have, Dingle or Brickus?
I would like Josh Nickelberry to have a child with Jordan Dingle, and for that child's name to be Dingleberry.
That's terrible. Please move on. Please, we're done. It's too much.
We're done. This is horrible.
That's terrible. Horrible. I'm not even giving you the courtesy laugh on that one.
Come on. That was terrific. All right. So then we wrap up this epic week of basketball, this just insane week of basketball, playing all of these, ranked opponents, if you consider every team to be ranked.
If you rank all 300,
if you rank all 300 teams, which is what Ken Palm does.
Yeah.
So there you go.
They're ranked.
Ken Palm, St. Joe's is the 238th best team in the land. We get to play them at the Pavilion, so good luck to them. Billy Lange, former assistant coach under Jay Wright, so another Jay Wright disciple. There was an all-name team there in Taylor Funk. Charlie Brown has left the program there, so that's no longer. That was a fun time when he was on St. Joe's. This is going to be a 30-plus point blowout, guys. This is not going to be fucking close.
Yeah. I think the big thing from this week is looking at not our top 5 and 6 guys who we've learned a lot about, but looking to see who else Jay puts on, where the bench minutes come from. You would expect to see them get more time this week. And ideally, that gives us a little bit of an indication of how things may shake out a little bit later. As you'll hear later on in the podcast from Allan Ray, he talks a lot about guys earning the trust of Jay Wright and the coaching staff. These are some great games, especially if they are blowouts where some of these younger guys can start to earn some of that trust. Ideally do it on the court in addition to what they're showing at practice as well too. So I think that's the big thing to watch from a fan perspective. Whether it sticks after the Big 5 play, your guess is as good as mine, but that's what I'd be watching for.
Yep. So
should we bring it home?
Yeah, what?
Should we bring it home?
Yeah, let's bring it home. I mean, you said everything that we want to say. I said everything that we want to say. This week is just kind of like, hey, we get to watch some games this week. Fun. Like, cool. I'll watch the games. I'm going to watch all the games. That's what we do here at the Full 40. We watch our games.
All right. Second half of the podcast is much more enjoyable. Some great insight from Allan Ray, a great conversation with him. We get into some more higher quality content than talking about terrible Big 5 teams. So definitely stick around for that. You'll need more than the full 40 minutes to listen to the whole thing, but it's worth it.
And we get stronger at the finish, not as opposed to.
Well, as we established in our last podcast, we are we struggle to start. So
that's right. That's right. This episode of the Full 40 is brought to you by Roman.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Wait, look, here's the deal. We said everything. This week sucks. Like, what do you fucking want me to tell you? Just watch the games. We're gonna win all 3. It'll be great. We'll get some wins under the belt. We'll be 6-2 by the end of this week, and then we get to prep for Syracuse, who also sucks, but it'll be fun because it's Syracuse at Madison Square Garden. That's all we got for you guys. Go listen to the second half of the podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, let's go.
Let's go Nova. Damn it.
Don't fucking do it. Don't try to do that. Just let me just roll into the second half of the podcast.
Fuck you.
Love it. All right, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Full 40 with Chris and Rob, part of the Stay Tuned Network, brought to you by Nova Insider. We are now joined by a very, very special guest of the podcast, the one and only Allan Ray. Hey, Ray, how are you doing today?
What's up, guys? How everybody doing? I'm doing good, man. Excited to be on here. Excited to talk Nova hoops.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome.
We're pumped to have you, man. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm definitely pumped to be here right now.
So let's go a little bit. I want to talk. I got to give you a proper introduction here. So Allan Ray is 2006 Big East champion, honored on three Big East teams, capped by being on the 2006 Big East first team, a 2006 consensus All-American, led the team to the 2005 Sweet 16 and 2006 Elite Eight, helped resurrect the program, no small feat. 2,025 career points, good for 7th all time, and second only to Scotty Reynolds in the Jay Wright era, ahead of teammate Randy Foye, other legends such as Ryan Arcidiacono, Josh Hart, Chris Jenkins, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Corey Fisher, Javon Pinkston, and also ahead of program legends Ed Pinckney and Paul Arizin. Your jersey hangs in the rafters, and after that, you went on to play a year in the NBA, and then also had multiple time champion in Europe. Not a bad resume.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all.
So my first question for you is, why did you travel in the 2005 Sweet 16? Why'd you do
that? Listen, I don't know what was going on with the ref. If you could tell by my facial expression, I really thought that was an and one.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember taking 2 steps, 1, 2. And if anything, not a travel on the steps, but maybe on the way down, it was kind of close when I let the ball go and when my feet touched the ground. But besides that, I don't see.
That's not what they call it.
Exactly. I don't see the walk. And I remember the guys. I can't remember who was calling that game, and they really sat there and said that I took 3 steps, and I was just like, I don't see the 3 steps. I see 2 steps, but I mean,
we don't see it either. We don't see it either.
I mean, I've watched the replay about 1 million times and not seeing it.
Yeah. So I mean, that was just one of the. I don't think I've ever been that surprised in my life.
I mean, the look on your face, the entire thing, you were just kind of like, what?
Yes. I just couldn't believe it. I was just looking at the ref like, dude, are you serious right now? We playing North Carolina. This is the tournament right now. You just called a walk on me. That was an and one.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Now, I had to ask that. In all seriousness, now, where are you joining us from today?
Right now, I'm in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. That's my home now. Out here with my wife. My son's out here, and I'm doing some real estate investing out here as well.
Awesome. How'd you get into that?
Well, my wife has been trying to get me to do this for a long time. In real estate investing, I had lived in Vegas. And yeah, I was out there when I was playing because I would train. They have Impact Gym out there. I would train. Kyle Lowry would come in the summers, we would train together. And the summer that I decided to move and come to Atlanta, we had stayed in a little apartment complex, and it was an Airbnb next to us, and there was just people coming in and out, and I was just like, damn, I wonder how much this person is getting every month just from doing this Airbnb like this, because it was just getting booked and booked and booked. So I kind of got the idea from that, and it kind of gave me the confidence to really pursue this real estate and really jump into it.
Gotcha. So when you finished your playing career in Europe, is that you kind of went to Georgia? That was where you decided to wind up?
Yeah. Because my son is out here, but me and his mom are not together. But being away, playing in Europe, you're not really home that much. So now I'm home, and I just wanted to be able to spend some time and be with family and stuff like that. So I decided to come down here, and the real estate market down here is great as well.
Awesome.
I had also lived down here too. I had lived down here 10 years ago. So
gotcha.
It was the return.
Gotcha. The return to Atlanta. Nice.
Yeah.
Um, well, that's cool, and I'm glad to hear that you're having a lot of success. We talked about this a little bit before we went live on the pod, but we're definitely going to have a longer form interview with you next off season to talk. We want to get all into it, like into your life and your playing career, what brought you to Villanova, your time in Europe. There's so much there that could probably take over an hour, and we don't have that kind of time in a holiday week here, but we absolutely want to get into that kind of after the season's over. So we'd love to have you back on.
For sure.
Awesome. So one thing I have noticed is that since you've been back, back from overseas, you've been really closely following and into the program, watching every game. You've been asking people on Twitter to ask you questions, etc. Obviously, let's get into that a little bit. Let's get into the current team. Obviously, a disappointing end to this weekend, and the UCLA, putting that out there too. You were clearly watching as well. A lot of active commentary on Twitter. I think we'd be remiss not to start with what is the biggest topic of conversation among the fan base right now. Tired legs and kind of what's causing all of that. What do you think? How real of a problem is that? And how much did you think this impacted the team?
Okay, so let me just say this right now. Like I played with Coach Wright, so I know his thinking, and I know what he prides himself on in the program. So I do believe, yes, these guys probably are suffering from like being tired and playing so many minutes during the game. But at the same time, if Coach Wright doesn't trust you to play, like he's not going to put you in the game.
No.
He's not going to put you in the game at all. And even like my freshman year when I got to Villanova, there was a bunch of upperclassmen in front of us, and like we had to earn our playing time. I wound up, Randy, we wound up playing a lot of minutes freshman year. Jason played minutes. Kurt didn't play as much minutes because there was a bunch of people in Kurt's position. But I just feel like the freshmen, the bench, like these guys have to earn their minutes on the court. So like you got Caleb Daniels, he comes off the bench. Obviously he was starting last year. So he's a guy that Coach Wright trusts. Archie Diacono is a guy that Coach Wright trusts. So with the younger guys, like what I can tell them is they need to, in practice, like they have to go after it. They have to go after it in practice if they want to get on this court, because that's the only way that they're going to get on the court. So, like, if you going up against Jermaine Samuels, yes, I know he's 6'6", 240, but you need to go after him in practice. You need to go after Brandon Slater in practice. You need to get after Colin in practice. You need to get after Justin Moore in practice. If you want to get on the court, like that's what you got to do. And I'm not talking about offensively. I'm talking about defensively. If y'all doing a drill in practice and you on the weak side and somebody drives, like you better be there. If there's a rotation that needs to be made, make that rotation. Because I guarantee you, if you do that kind of stuff, you're going to get on the court. And once they start getting on the court, that's going to help the team out so much. Like we have so much potential. And once they're able to get on the court and they can gain that trust from Coach Wright, I guarantee you, like we will be a much better team. We are a good team now, but it's going to take put us to the next level. So that's how I feel about that situation right now. Like Coach Wright, like he has to have trust in you to bring you in off the bench. And for the guys that's playing right now too, like the situation right now. He's not using the bench. I know you guys are tired, but you got to suck it up. Like, yeah, I got to suck it up. I mean, we know how Coach is, and you should look at it like, man, I'm a top 10 team in the country, and right now I get to play 40 minutes. You might not be able to go to Duke or North Carolina and play 40 minutes. Like, you're getting to play 40 minutes a game. Like, go out there and get it done. You know, we had a couple of leads that we gave away, especially in the Purdue game. You know, like I love you guys for sure, you know, but it's tough love. Like you got to get that done. We had that game, and you got to suck that up and get that done.
I like it. Putting everybody on blast a little bit. So I gotta ask the question though. How much do you think the tired legs and the short bench really played into the losses? Like, was that a key element to your mind, or was there something else?
I just feel like we gave it away. You know, like I said before, yeah, we was tired, but you know, we played so well that game. Like if you look at what I was saying on Twitter before the game about the big guys, Eddie, how do you say his name? Edie and Williams. You know, they like let them get their points. They was playing great in the paint. They was playing good. They was scoring in the paint, doing everything, but we were still winning the game, and we was up by 11 because Ivy and Stefanovic was not in the game.
Nothing.
But soon as second half came around that 9-minute mark, Ivy start pushing the ball up court, getting to the lane, and start dishing out for everybody, and they start hitting shots, and that's how they start going. He got Caleb first, a dunk under the rim off the fast break, and then once that happened, it was just like we just crumbled from there. But we did a great job of slowing him down and slowing Stefanovic down, and let the big men do what they do. Because I mean, I'm a guard. You can't win championships without guards. So you could let the bigs score or whatever. It was taking the ball out of Ivy's hands and Stefanovic's hands. So I think we just went away from that. We let Ivy get going. The same thing happened in the UCLA game in overtime. The point guard just start tearing us apart and start getting guys open looks, and that kind of opened up the game for us. I think we just went away from that.
No, I mean, obviously, like, look, we've seen it from your time on campus that Jay Wright teams have been undersized, if you will, but great guard play. You know, we went small. I thought that was working for us for a lot of the game because, you know, once you start making teams run, like you make those big guys work defensively super hard, and you get them out of sorts and you make them play your style of game. We let them play their style of game for the last 10 minutes, and it came really fast and furious, as you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And if you watch the game, they couldn't even keep Edie out in the game like that, because when we would go pick and roll, like we would just exploit that. You know, he couldn't stay in the game for so long because we were too quick for him. We was getting in the lane, making plays. Like you see how we move the ball, like Jermaine pump fake, get in the lane, kick out to the wing, extra pass to the corner, three. Like we were doing stuff like that. And Purdue's coach knew that, and he just couldn't keep Edie in the game like that. And they made that adjustment. But you know, we still was playing relatively good. And we was, like you said, we was playing our game plan, and we let Purdue do what they wanted to do. We let Purdue get comfortable. And
I do have to say the free throws and the turnovers were uncharacteristic plays late in that game, especially a guy like Colin Gillespie never turns the ball over, like, ever. And then, I mean, him and Moore and a few of the other guys missed free throws. I think Caleb, who was shooting the ball fine that game, really was kind of turned it around on a shooting front. In that game, we're all missing free throws left and right. And it was between that and the turnovers. I feel like that's kind of the difference. I think when I was looking at it, I say, okay, uncharacteristic equals they're not feeling 100%. Like the mind goes before the body, and then the body starts to give out too. But
yeah, I'm curious, like, building off of that, if you're one of the guys who's playing, you're in there, you're playing the full 40 minutes, like what's going through your head at that point? Are you like, hey, I'm tired and I could use a couple minutes? Or are you just like, nah, I'm here, like we're just going to run this and get it done? Like as a player, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so like me personally, and with our team, with our Randy, Kyle and us, Mike Nardi, we had that instilled in us, you know, just to to go out there and fight. Because like you said, we didn't really have a bench either, and we always played with a whole bunch of guards. So our main thing was just to, like, we got to get it done. We got to get it done, no matter how tired we are. You know, we got to pick each other up. That was one of the things we always said to each other. Like, we got to pick each other up. You know, like if I'm tired, you know, Randy, come pick me up. Like, hey, Ray, let me guard him, right? Let me guard him. Get yourself a rest, and then, you know, once you get your breath back, come back, and then, like, we'll switch again. But we always used to hold each other accountable, like, even in the game. Like, if I made a turnover or Randy made a turnover, we'll come to each other like, listen, that was a bad pass. You know, like, you gotta be solid. You gotta be solid. We can't afford those mistakes right now. And then it was like, you know what, you're right. And, you know, it'll get us back on track. But the free throws, I do agree with you. The free throws, like, that's free money. You gotta make that. You gotta make the free throws. And once they start missing the free throws, that's when I was like, man, like, you could just see like us kind of falling off after making those free throws, and then Colin made that turnover. It definitely was very uncharacteristic. But it's a learning experience.
I may be reading
to learn from.
I may be reading through the lines a little bit here, but I feel like I'm hearing you say that your team was tougher than the current team. I mean, I'm just playing back what I'm hearing here.
Nah, I'm not saying that. I don't like to compare teams. You know, like, every team is just different. I'm just giving you my experience from
when we. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, like, that's just what we would do. You know, like, we just will always pick each other up because we were small. Like, Coach Wright used to always say, we got 5 midgets on the court. So we were always we were small. So we always had to, like, be tougher than everybody and, like, have each other's back. We could never do anything, like, on our own.
No.
I love it.
I look at this team, and, you know, it's kind of easy to draw a little bit of comparison, at least at the current moment, with your senior year team, given the fact that, you know, it is a smaller lineup, and it's great guard play. You know, you got guys who can shoot, guys who can break it down, and then you know, we've had, you know, Dixon step up quite a bit. Down low, kind of in the same way that Bump Sheridan did in 06 when because Frazier kind of was always kind of star-crossed with injuries, and really Dante Cunningham was kind of playing like a little bit of, like, he was off the bench, went on to be obviously the leader on the Final Four team, but you can make some comparisons there. But I think the closest comparison is because it's like a guard-oriented team. It's a little undersized with a short bench. You guys got it done. You guys got to the Elite Eight. So
yeah. But we ran into that Florida team, man. They were so big, and they just, like, we just couldn't do anything. Like, no matter how hard we played, like, they was just too big for us at every single position.
Totally. So I got to ask, so obviously we got a short bench. We were talking about it. Who does Jay turn to next? Like, assuming this bench expands a little bit and we get guys in, who do you think he turns to? Who becomes, I guess, the 8th man, or even like a fuller 7th man, if you will, because Arch isn't playing a whole lot right now.
Yeah. Whoever wants it, man. It's like,
ooh, okay.
Whoever wants it, whoever is ready, whoever it wants to play. Because I know these guys, you freshmen, you didn't come to Villanova to sit on the bench. When I was a freshman, I didn't come to Villanova to sit on the bench. I could tell you a story when we came in as freshmen. Like I said, there was a lot of upperclassmen, seniors, Gary Buchanan, Andrew Sullivan, Andreas Block, Ricky Wright. We came in, and I'm pretty sure if you ask them, they'll tell you that we was arrogant. We was pretty arrogant. We had a lot of confidence because, you know, we didn't come to Villanova to sit on the bench. Like, we wanted to play. We was coming for your spot. Like, I would go up against Gary Buchanan every day in practice. I definitely had a lot of respect for him, but I want to play. So right. I'm in your ass every practice, and we would battle it out and go at each other. But it was always respectful, but it was just competition, and I think that made me a better player, and it made him a better player. and I definitely had earned my minutes to get on the court at that time. So I feel the same way about the freshmen. Like I can't tell you exactly who's gonna be the one to step up. It's just whoever wants to take that opportunity. And trust me, if you want to, coach will give it to you, but you just gotta prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought with Antoine, before Antoine went down, I thought that, okay, 7 guys with Caleb and Antoine off the bench. That's a pretty good rotation there, maybe a little bit of arch and whatever. And then we didn't necessarily need a lot more freshmen because 7 guys is enough, like 7 full guys is enough to win a title.
Yeah.
And especially when your 6th and 7th guys are Caleb Daniels and Brian Antoine, those guys are absolutely extremely good athletes who can shoot the shit out of the ball, and can make a lot of plays off the bench. And some days kind of play that Dante DiVincenzo role of being like the microwave off the bench and absolutely light you up. But when Antoine went down, and everything that's coming out of the program right now says that that's going to be still a ways out until he's back. Like I thought, like, man, it just seems like if Colin and Justin and those guys aren't able to be at 80% or 90% late in the game against big time teams, it's just, you wonder, like, man, Longino for 3 minutes in the first half, does it help? I don't know. I obviously we like, if you listen to the last pod, we were all over that. I hear what you're saying. I get it that if Jay doesn't trust you, he doesn't play you. He does play them in the lower marquee games, so to speak, the less big time games. But I'm hopeful that these guys earn their way onto the court soon, because that'll make us better, because it'll make Colin better. It'll make Justin better. So that's kind of where my head's at.
No, definitely. I mean, that's like everybody's analysis right now. Like I mean, I completely agree with you as well. I'm not the coach, but I definitely would like to see these guys get in the game. But for me being a former player, like I know they're not in the game for a reason. Like it's crazy because you can put somebody in the game and the game can turn around in a couple of seconds. A couple of mistakes here, a couple of mistakes here, and then boom, the game is blown wide open. Now you have no chance to get back. A lot of people don't understand that. So like, just think about if you're a coach and you're in a close game right now and you're like, all right, I need to put somebody in the game, but I don't want to do it. And then, now we completely out the game now. We're lost, and it's going to be tough for us to come back. So it's kind of a hard decision to make. But at the same time, if coach has to figure that out as well, because I'm sure coach knows. He knows. Like, yeah, we need to have our bench. Like, we need a bench. I need to get these guys a rest for sure. Like, he knows that.
Oh, totally.
And he's going to figure it out. Great thing about it, this is the beginning of the season. So everything, I trust everything is going to get figured out. But for right now, it's frustrating, especially as a fan, to see the game against Purdue and UCLA. So I get it.
Yeah. I got to ask the question. So as a common fan who doesn't know a lot, which is, to be clear, Chris and I here, the talk track is like, all right, that loss is a little bit on Jay. Like, we think from an outsider perspective, he made the choice. He didn't put in any subs. The guy's legs were tired, and that loss is on him. But I'm curious, like, what the take ends up being in the locker room, at practice. And I think I know the answer kind of based on what you were saying earlier, but like, does Jay and the coaching staff, do they take responsibility and say, yeah, we should have rethought that and actually would have done a different approach? Or is it just like, no, guys, this is our strategy and you've got to execute on it, whether it's 6 guys who are playing, 7 guys who are playing, 8 guys who are playing? I'm just really curious kind of what that dynamic ends up being after the game. Yeah,
so it's funny. I spoke with Mike Nardi, and his answer was kind of towards with the last thing you said. It's just like, this is our game plan. We got to get it done. And definitely, the coaching staff is aware. Like, yes, we need bench players. We need guys to step up. It would have been great if we had these guys in the game, but like I said, right now is not a possibility. For some reason, whatever the reason is, is the trust is just not there to put these guys in the game at the moment right now. But as far as like with the locker room and with the players, I'm pretty sure, especially the older guys, Jermaine, Colin, they're definitely reassuring the young guys just to keep pushing, keep working hard, and like you'll get your opportunity. I don't think there's any negativity there. Like, oh man, coach should have put me in a game. Forget that. Like, I need to play. Like, no, I don't think there's any of that in there. Because if you watch the games, you look at the bench, like those young guys are cheering their ass off on the sideline.
Yeah, that's true.
They're happy for these guys. So I doubt that they have like any negative energy going on out there. And that's the one thing. Like, that's why I know in the future, like they're going to get it, because you could just see their enthusiasm on the bench, not playing, but still cheering for these guys, standing up, clapping. So, yeah. So I think I just go back to what you said, man. I just think it's more of like these guys got to get it done. Like Colin and Jermaine, like they know what they got to do, and I'm pretty sure if you ask them, they'll say the same thing. Like, we let our foot off the gas, and we should have put them away.
Well, some good news is that the Baylor team that we're playing, this would be the next big game.
Doesn't have Mitchell on that team.
They don't have those guys. That's true. That's big. The other point I was going to raise is that they are now in the top 7 or 8 teams in the country. So we get yet another top 5, 10 opponent on the non-conference schedule, and that's a revenge game for us. So those guys pick up that W. Boom. That's the non-conference schedule. You got the Tennessee win, you got a Baylor win, and you played Purdue and UCLA, who were title favorites, and had them down big. Like, that's a good boost for the confidence of this team going into the Big East season. So, look, we never said here that all is lost or anything like that, but we obviously expressed some concern. We want to see those young guys get in. Just even 5 minutes would just be like, for me, outsider looking in, would be like awesome. And speaking of Mike Nardi, what you told us before the game is that he hooked you up with that sweet throwback hoodie. And I wish I had a friend like that in the program. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, this when I seen this hoodie too, I was like, he actually was right there when I opened it too. I was like, yeah, this is nice. Thanks, Mike.
Real nice.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that.
And for those who are listening, he's wearing the throwback, the 70s block V with the yellow outline, and it looks sweet. It's kind of on like the right chest. It's awesome. All right, on the team, staying on the team, what are your thoughts on the floor? Rob and I think that this team has a very high floor because of the caliber of the top 6. So like the worst this team's ever going to be is really good. But like, what are your thoughts on the floor and the ceiling of this team? And I'll ask it in the context of like some of the layers. So like Big East regular season, Big East tournament, NCAA tournament. Where do you think the floor lies with this team?
All right. So I feel like, me personally, Big East, like I think we can win Big East. We just showed that we can play with UCLA, number 2 team in the country, and UCLA is good. And we had UCLA on the ropes.
Right.
Purdue is a really good team, and they got a 7'4" guy, which probably the only 7'4" guy in college. I don't think they're ever going to see another 7'4" guy, and they played. They played great that game. They played great. I mean, they played him tough. He worked for all his baskets. Like, there's no doubt about it that this team is tough, and there's no doubt about it that this team is good. I really think that this team can win the Big East. I definitely think in the tournament, at the minimum, Sweet 16. But I don't really like to make predictions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you the Villanova basketball answer right now,
right.
which is we're gonna take every game by game. Like, we're not gonna look into the future, into the Big East tournament. We're gonna set little small goals. So we want to win this game, we want to win the next game, and the game after that. Like, that's it. That's all we focusing on.
You got too well trained. 15 years out, and you're still giving us the Villanova answer. Ridiculous.
Man.
Hey, that's just from being around Coach Wright, man. That's what he used to tell us all the time. You know, like, don't look at the future. Don't think about NCAA tournament right now. Like, we nowhere near there. Like, we play Stony Brook tomorrow. Like, that's who we focusing on. That's what we focus on. And then after that, then we focus on the next opponent. And then when it start getting closer, okay, we got 2 games left. All right, let's try to win this Big East tournament outright. Then we get to the Big East tournament. Okay, we got 3 games. Now it's time. Okay, let's try to win this Big East tournament. Then when you get to the tournament, okay, it's one and done. It goes back to the same principle. We play whoever today. That's what we focus on. And then we go game from game from there.
I love it. I mean, look, the one thing that's been a pretty sharp constant in the Jay Wright era is that you could point to some of the round of 32 games, and I'll put that aside for a second because every team who makes March Madness is good. Yeah. But aside from that, in the 20 years or 20 plus years of Jay Wright, like, especially since you guys kind of reached your junior year, Villanova doesn't lose a lot of games in the regular season that it should win. Like, we haven't had, like, there's been a couple losses that I can think of. And the fact that you can remember them is a pretty good sign that, like, this team doesn't pick up bad L's. And it speaks to that attitude of, like, hey, guess what? The next game is LaSalle. That's our entire season is LaSalle on Sunday next week. So, you know, it works. It works, right? So, like, don't go away from it.
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy. I think it's a good way to look at it, you know. And basketball is, yes, it's physical, but it's also mental. You know, going into the games, like, you got to be mentally prepared just as you are physically prepared. And I think taking it game by game helps you more mentally to be in the moment and not overlook your opponents, because that's how a lot of good teams lose the games. Like, you overlook your opponent, you'll go into a game like, oh, we play such and such, oh, we're going to beat them. Or, like, okay, for example, when we were in the Elite Eight against Florida,
right?
Okay, we played Florida the year before and we beat them. Remember that? We played Florida. We played them the year before we beat them. And I remember we was on the layup line. And George Mason had beat UConn. And we saw that George Mason beat UConn. And I remember being on that layup line and we was like, oh, man, we going to the Final Four. Because we just beat Florida last year and we was playing them again. And we're like, oh, we're about to beat them and we're going to the Final Four. And we came out and got our ass kicked.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit before, but you ran into an absolute juggernaut. Like, some of the best teams that I've seen are like that 06, 07, 05, 06, 07 Florida team, the 2009 UNC team, the 2018 Nova team. Like you're talking about one of the best teams ever in college basketball. So no shame in losing to Florida in the 06 Elite Eight. I know it didn't feel like that at the time.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I think you can see it.
But we beat them the year before and they had the same team. So it was like, we wasn't thinking about like, oh, we beat them last year and they hungry to beat us now. Like, we wasn't even thinking like that. We were thinking about going to the Final Four and playing George Mason and slapping them.
Right.
And we wound up losing to Florida.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a good point right there. That's why you don't overlook opponents.
No.
I'm curious, you've mentioned, and we were kind of joking about how consistent Jay's been, like, obviously, like, in the media training and certainly that attitude of approaching games. Is there anything you can tell that he's changed over the years since you've graduated? Or from what you can tell, is it pretty much the same style and approach? Obviously, he's been through a lot at this point.
His hair's a little grayer.
Hair's a little grayer, yeah. And no suits, obviously, as we've beaten to death.
2 things. Well, from this year, he doesn't wear as many suits. I'm surprised. Yep. I haven't seen him with a suit on. And 2, he doesn't yell as much. Like, that's one of the big.
Okay.
We talk about that all the time. Like, he does not yell as much as he used to when I was in school. Like, he's calmed down with that a lot. And I think that's just because he doesn't really have to anymore. Because when we were playing, we didn't have upperclassmen to like teach us and show us how to win. Like now in the program, the upperclassmen do a great job of that, showing the young guys what they need to do. So he doesn't have to like be on you so much about it.
That's
but
cool.
yeah, he was a yeller.
When we were in school, I mean, there were some times where we play a game in an empty pavilion, and you could hear Jay just like, "What the fuck, pussy this, blah blah blah." Like he's just everybody just yelling. He definitely doesn't seem to do that anywhere near as much anymore. There is one funny memory I have. Pat Chambers. It's a Pat Chambers story. I was at a game in 2008, 2009 season. It was like Thanksgiving weekend. And we were playing against the worst teams, like just terrible teams in the Palestra, but it was like against like Towson. Like it wasn't anybody. So there was like all of like 100 people in the Palestra. I was one of them, which speaks to like what kind of a sick fuck I am. But like I was there and Shane Clark was wide open for a three and he pump fakes against nobody. Allan, there was nobody defending him. He like just up fakes, and then he like made a move, traveled because he shuffled his feet, gets whistled the other way. And Pat Chambers, you just hear at the top of his lungs, "Shane, shoot the fucking ball!" So I know that yelling used to be a part of the program.
yeah, definitely was.
Yeah,
definitely was. Those times are over now. These guys are they a little sensitive now. They'll shut down a little bit.
Oh man. First off, you were saying, back in 06, we took our 6 guys and got it done, and now you're calling them sensitive. I don't know, man.
Some hot takes. I like putting these guys on blast.
This is all basketball players, like even professionals in the league right now. Like look at Ben Simmons, man.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That Ben Simmons story is
sensitive.
Yeah. Woo! Oh, so true. All right, so Ari, I gotta ask. So Chris and I give out awards each week on the show. 2 of the awards we give out are the Shaq Fit Man Play of the Week, named after strength and conditioning coach John Shackleton. Basically, like your big throwdown dunks, your exciting plays. That's one of them. And then we also give out the Alpha Dog of the Week. So this is basically the guy who's stepping up, who's leading the team. I'm curious. I know you're probably new to these awards, but just based on the description, who do you think is going to take home the most awards week in and week out this year?
What was that first award?
First Shaq award, Fit Man Play of the Week.
Come on, that's going to Samuels every game.
Okay, yeah. I like it.
He has won. He's won them quite a bit.
Yeah, very true. Second one was the Alpha Dog of the Week. Basically, your team leader, guy who's getting it done.
I mean, right there, you gotta go with somebody like Justin, because Justin fills the stat sheet. Like he really fills the stat sheet. Slater's another guy who fills the stat sheet. And then you got Colin. I feel like those 3 guys are like the core alpha dogs on the team that can get things done. I mean, Samuels too. He fills the stat sheet. So I would like to see all of them just like kind of rotate that award.
I like it. I got to ask you this one. So like your look when you played, man, first off, the uniforms that you guys wore, especially in the 05-06 year, were just like some of my favorite unis ever. But you had the iconic arm sleeve, and then you also just had a look about you of like just total fire and intensity in your eyes, like every moment that you were on the court. The first, like, and we've had a lot of players who have a ton of intensity, like Josh Hart comes up, like Brunson has a ton of intensity. Like all these guys throughout the years played with a ton of intensity, and like Villanova teams play hard. These guys play tough, right? But like Justin Moore reminds me of a guy who has like that look in his eye when he's out there. Is he? I'm making a guess here. Is he like one of your favorite players since you in the program?
No, I definitely like watching Justin Moore play. Like you said, his like demeanor doesn't change. He's like Derrick Rose. If you ever watched Derrick Rose play, he got the same face all game. And Justin's like that too. Like he just got the same face all game. You never see him smile. It's just he's either mad or he just got a neutral face. But one of my favorite players, like my favorite player since I left, is Josh Hart. Like
Josh Hart.
I love that guy. I love the way he played. I remember when he was at Nova, like he did everything. Rebound, he could score, lock you up on defense. Like he does the same thing in the league now. Like if I'm not mistaken, he was leading all guards and like rebounds and some craziness like that in the whole league. Like I love Josh Hart's motor. Like I love it. Like I love watching him play.
He was my second guess in that fashion. Because as you mentioned, I mean, on that 05-06 team, you and Randy were guarding the 4 on like a lot of teams, and it was not the same type of basketball that was played now. I mean, you guys kind of invented that style of basketball with that team in that year. So like the 4s back in 05-06 were like 6'10". These were big dudes, and Josh Hart reminded me of that guy. He would guard the 4 sometimes, get the boards over these guys, and it would remind me of a little bit of you guys. So I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, they definitely was more physical than they are now. Back then when I played, but Justin Moore does like have this swag about him. Like you could tell, like he got this swag about him on the court. Like he know he good and like nobody can mess with him. I like that about him. I like that.
Yeah. So who do you think on this year's team is what's the difference maker? Who are you looking at? Like, and I'm going to exclude the freshmen getting more minutes because we've talked about that enough. Like, who do you think are out of the top 6 guys, who do you think is the guy who needs to like ratchet it up? And if that guy ratchets it up, this team goes from the Sweet 16, which you kind of said is the floor, to like, oh, this is a Final Four type team. Who's that guy?
Brandon Slater.
Yeah.
And I think we all can agree on that. You know, this dude has the typical prototype NBA body. He has the skills. He's improved his jump shot tremendously. He's athletic. He can defend all positions. You know, I just think sometimes he's just not aggressive enough on the offensive end. Defensive end, he does his thing. You know, you seen that block he had against Ivy before the half, like that. Yeah, that's like not everybody can do that. You know, two athletic guys like that going up. But I think when once Brandon realizes how good he is, like, and he starts being a little bit more aggressive, you know, I think that'll take our team also to the next level because he's got the tools, and you know, obviously he's willing to learn and he'll put the work in because you can tell by the way he's shooting the ball this year.
All righty, I like it. All right, we're gonna end on a funny note. We got to ask this question. We wouldn't be doing.
We have to ask this question.
We have to ask this question. So I'm going to set the stage here. We're freshmen. You're a senior. Season's over. You guys take us to the Elite Eight. You didn't know it at the time, but the program's reborn. You're kind of off thinking NBA time, etc. You're like, you know, looking towards that. You're driving a Beamer around campus. Like, yeah, all of this stuff going on. And the story goes, there's a legend out there. The story goes that you walked into a class and the professor was like, there's a test. And you said, A-Ray don't take no tests. And I have to know if that story has any basis in fact at all, because that was like a known story throughout campus. And I have to know.
For real that I said that?
I mean, that's the story.
That's the story. That's the legend.
I don't know about that one because
Oh.
I never really like wanted to seem like that type of guy, you know. Like I don't want to be that stereotype like that. And if I did say it, I probably was joking, but
Okay.
I don't remember me walking to a class and saying that. But if I did, it definitely was a joke.
Everyone has told us before the interview. We talk a lot to D-Ray. We talked to several other people, and everyone says, "Oh, A-Ray's like a funny guy." Like, and so I believe that you were joking. It's just like to me, it was like I love that story so much. I've like that story has been like something that's just been in the back of my mind forever.
It's like
And I
it's that
needed
urban
to ask
legend. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an urban. That's exactly right.
Well, I'll tell you one story that's true.
Yeah.
When I used to live on South Campus freshman year in Stanford, I remember it was a few times. I would come out the dorm to go to class, and if you know that bus that goes to main campus,
Yeah.
yeah, if that bus was gone when I came downstairs, I would turn around and go right back into the dorm
Yo,
and
on a
turn on
cold day,
ESPN.
on
Oh
a
my
cold day,
goodness.
on a cold day, that campus was like a wind tunnel. That place is just freezing ice cold when you're walking around on that day. Man.
Yeah, and coaches, assistant coaches, hey, Ray, you went to class? Yeah, I was there, coach. Yeah, I was
Amazing.
there.
Oh man, that's great. I was just looking at the mailbag. One other one. I sorry, I got to ask. What happened with your eye with Carl Krauser in the Big East game? What exactly happened there? Was it just that the eyelid flipped back?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, Carl Krauser is one of my good friends. We grew up together.
Okay.
He's from the Bronx, and we used to always play each other when we were younger. So we was going
Wait.
after.
So you're saying he had it out for you? That's what I'm taking away from this. Clearly.
That's the same thing I told him. I was like, bro, I don't want to hear nothing else, but you know you did that on purpose. But I remember going for the loose ball. I was about to get ready to dive on the ball, and I just remember feeling like it felt like somebody stuck a piece of wood like in my eye. Like it was like his finger was hard as hell. Like I don't know what the hell he was doing with his hands, but his finger was hard as hell. And I just remember my eye. It was like it was immediately burning, like burning. I couldn't really take the pain. And I remember Jeff coming over there. Jeff, he like covers up my eye, and he's just like, I'm like, Jeff, like, why can't I see? Why is my eye burning? And he's just like, A-Ray's gonna be okay. A-Ray's gonna be okay. I get into the ambulance with my mother. I'm like, Mom,
Man.
why can't I see? Why can't I see? Like,
Oh
why is my eye burning? And she's like, baby, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So at that point, nobody was giving me answers, and I freaked out, and I kind of just like passed out in the ambulance. And I just remember waking up in the hospital, and like my father was standing over me, and like I was able to see, but it was a little blurry, and I was just like, what happened? What happened? And the doctor came over and he was just like, well, your eyelid went behind your eye. So that's why your eye was burning. That's why you couldn't see anything. And I was just like kind of relieved because I didn't know what the hell happened to my eye. And then I watched the video and it kind of looked like it popped out a little bit.
No, it didn't kind of look like it. It all the way
totally
looked like
did.
Yeah, so I was just happy about it. I was able to play the next game. They wanted me to wear some goggles, but I was just like, I'm not wearing goggles. Like, that's just not happening. But
A-Ray don't take no goggles.
Yeah, A-Ray don't wear goggles. So I wasn't wearing goggles.
Amazing.
Yeah, but that was that. It didn't pop out. It just like my eyelid went behind my eye, and it went deep back there. Like he poked me pretty good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it looked like, you ever see those like videos from back in the day, like those Guinness World Records where one woman would like open her eyes really wide and it would kind of like bulge out. It looked like that. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. Chris Charles used to like make fun of me because of my eyes all the time. Like Chris Charles always used to do that all the time. There was this one commercial that used to come on all the time, and it was just like, I can't remember the name of the animal, but the animal's eyes was huge. And he used to be, every time we was in the locker room and they came on, he used to be like, "Hey Ray, hey Ray." He's like, "Hey Ray, it's you."
Ridiculous.
Oh my goodness, that's terrific.
So
That's
good.
terrific. All right, easy one. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Just chilling with the fam, making some food, and just relaxing, man. That's it. Just nothing special.
Awesome. Well, we have a little bit of a break here before the LaSalle game and the Big Five gets underway on Sunday. All right. Hey Ray, thanks a lot for joining us. We're gonna have you back on in the off season, and we're looking forward to that. We want definitely a long form with you to kind of talk through kind of what got you to Nova and everything since, and would love to just talk a little bit more. So thank you so much for having us on. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. You didn't have us on. And we really appreciate it.
All right, man. Definitely appreciate it. Bring me back, man. Bring me back during the season. I love talking Villanova basketball. I love talking about the team. And if nobody's getting in off the bench, man, yeah, definitely bring me back. We need to talk about that.
We got to have a therapy session, man. We got to talk it out.